Back in September, I began this series, YLM, Your Lost Media, with an episode about lost horror movies. I was hoping to go as long as possible without repeating themes in the series, but I just got so many horror submissions that I found personally exciting that we just had to go back. So I think it's time to cover some more horror lost media, including a Lost Tales from the Crypt project, a lost Robert Englund film, a movie from Brazil, as well as a solved case from a previous episode. And as always, if you have a topic that you'd like me to cover in this series, send an email to wanglostmedia@gmail.com. Anyway, episode 6, let's get started. This video is sponsored by Helix. Helix makes premium mattresses and bedding, custom fit to your needs and shipped right to your door. I've had my Helix mattress now for over a year and a half, and I'm still having some of the best sleep of my life. I remember around the time I had gotten it, I had been complaining about some neck pain, and that hasn't returned. It's really easy to get a Helix mattress of your own. You just take their sleep quiz, which helps determine what mattress is right for you based on your preferences and sleeping style. Since I'm a side sleeper who likes a soft mattress, they gave me the Sunset. And if you're nervous about buying a mattress from the internet, Helix gives you a 100 nights of sleep trial. That's more than 3 months. And if you don't like the mattress, they'll pick it up right from your door and issue a full refund. If you do like it, each Helix mattress comes with a 10-year warranty. Just click the link below or go to helix.com/wang. You'll get up to $200 off your Helix sleep mattress as well as 2 free pillows. So in the previous episode of this series, I spoke of a lost Nickelodeon short film. It aired at some point during the 80s or the early 90s and was about pumpkins that came to life on Halloween. Several of you sent me what appears to be the actual solution, and it was posted to my subreddit r/wang by user Jericho Tyler. The missing pumpkin short, Pumpkin Madness 2, which can be viewed in its entire 4 minutes and 40-second glory on YouTube, featuring a narrator that does a Dracula voice that more often than not sounds closer to Borat. My pumpkin. Everything about the film lines up with the email I received. The time frame, the pumpkins coming to life, flying around, and ultimately exploding with smoke bombs. The short was directed by David Gray, who, despite what it says on IMDb, was not shot to death by the police in 1990. That was a very different David Gray. This David Gray, as far as I can tell, is still alive and even commented on the existence of Pumpkin Madness 1. He stated that the first film was essentially the same exact film except it featured The Stranger by Billy Joel and the original Frankenstein movie played on the TV. These edits had to be made because of copyright issues. I guess some things never change. Anyway, on to the first news story, Tales from Cryptville. Tales from the Crypt has been one of the greatest series in the history of horror since 1950, spawning some of my own personal favorite moments in horror. Like the part in the Tales from the Crypt movie where an abusive caretaker is forced to navigate a maze that's lined with razor blades in the dark while he's chased by a hungry dog. Or the time in the TV series, which shamefully is not available to stream anywhere due to licensing issues, when Whoopi Goldberg decapitated a man with a machete. Unfortunately, since the end of the series in 1997, relatively little has happened with the property. Mostly just a few cancelled revivals, including one that was supposed to be helmed by M. Night Shyamalan. Well, an email from a biologist/writer named Spencer Bollettieri made me aware of another potential Tales from the Crypt series, Tales from Cryptville. It all begins with a proposed reboot of Inspector Gadget. Spencer starts to research the company behind the reboot, a production company named Cookie Jar Entertainment, when something else captures his attention even more. It's mentioned that they're working on a spin-off of Tales from the Crypt called Tales from Cryptville. Being a huge fan of Tales from the Crypt, this became Spencer's focus. But there wasn't a lot to be found with the exception of this teaser trailer. As far as I can tell, this movie was intended to function somewhat like the Scary Stories movie, where the world that the main characters exist in is used to present elements of the stories. To be honest, I wasn't really a fan of that approach, but nonetheless, this is an interesting Tales from the Crypt artifact. Spencer tried to dig up some information about the production and managed to find a 2009 Toto TV publication that references an event held for Tales from Cryptville, with several names attached. Spencer reached out to several of these people as well as Cookie Jar Entertainment and Wildbrain Entertainment, but he didn't manage to get a response from anybody. The only response from anybody related to this project on any level was from the Crypt Keeper himself, John Kassir. In a response to a tweet from Crypt Keeper 1225, he says, "Nah, it's gotta be a send-up or sizzle reel. I had nothing to do with it, except they lifted footage of my work. I'm positive our guys aren't involved either. Good for laughs. It's unknown how much of Tales from the Cryptful was actually filmed outside of what we see in the trailer, but chances are this was just some kind of pitch that never fully came to fruition. The next story was sent to me by a user of the Lost Media Wiki, That Gaming Asshole. A lost Robert Englund film entitled Webcam 3D. He described the movie as being about a group of friends who are chatting online when they realize they're being watched through their webcams. Of course, they're killed off one by one, as viewers bet on who will survive. Totally in line with this trend of internet and technology-related horror from the 2000s. That Gaming Asshole compared it to Unfriended 2 or Escape Room. He had first encountered rumors about this film when it was mentioned in passing in a Watch Mojo video. This prompted him to look it up, and it actually was covered pretty extensively, with mentions in Dread Central and Bloody Disgusting, which had mentions of it including Robert Englund, Michael Madsen, and Estella Warren. Bloody Disgusting described the film a little differently from That Gaming Asshole, mentioning that high school kids are invited to a party where they're watched through a webcam, and rather than bet on who dies, the audience actually votes on who dies. Very little is archived of the movie's official site, and the surviving teaser trailer tells us basically nothing about it. It's unclear how far along in production this movie actually got, although Robert Englund had actually praised the screenplay and mentioned changes in shooting locations during its filming. Looking at the director Anthony Soleil's IMDb page shows that the film is still in pre-production, more than 10 years after the teaser trailer was released. He's completed several projects since then, so it's likely that this one never got finished and was just stuck in development hell. If it ever does see the light of day, it'll probably be a very different film than what was originally intended. Although I have to say, considering how fast technology has moved since 2010 when the movie was announced, it might actually be cool to see something like this presented as like a 2010 period piece. A 2010 period piece. Time is just moving too fast. The final piece of lost media comes from a Brazilian viewer named Afonso Markman. Afonso was trying to find a movie from his childhood in Brazil, but to no avail. Context: I was born and raised in Brazil, circa 2003. I was 8 or 9 years old, and my parents let me rent a VHS tape at a local video store, no longer working as I write. I remember the title in Portuguese being Parque do Terror, something like Terror Park or Horror Park. I have no recollection of the movie cover whatsoever. And the searches I made trying to find any variation of this name didn't really come up with anything. You got some music, YouTube gaming videos, an amusement park, but no movie. Although he couldn't recall how the box art looked, he did remember a few details from the movie. I'm sure it was dubbed, which means it was an international release here in Brazil. The protagonist was a young woman who found herself at an amusement park / fair in many different situations. I remember shots taking place in some rides and attractions, like a Hall of Mirrors and some kind of spooky ride with animatronics, or maybe it was a love tunnel. Anyway, these situations seem to be happening in the woman's dreams or seem to be some kind of hallucination. In all these visions, she sees a menacing man. I believe he wears clown makeup sometimes, and sometimes tries to reach him and other times runs away from him. Finally, he describes the ending, in which the woman is being held down by the mysterious man. She manages to get a gun against his head and shoots him at point-blank range. This results in her getting splashed with tons of bright red blood. He describes it as if someone had taken a bucket of blood and threw it in her face. And that's basically all there is to this one. Because of it being dubbed, it's likely that the movie didn't actually originate from Brazil, and the description of the movie makes me think it might have been a straight-to-video release. Although, there isn't much popping up in searches for this movie, I do think it's likely that we could find this one. It's likely that someone watching this video simply remembers it, probably based on that ending scene. But anyway, that's all for now. Remember to email me with your lost media tips, and if you like this video, check out my video about the lost Hellraiser games. I'm out.
All I do is right!